that's why he stuck his cock in a beehive.
Alright, fair enough.
Hello and welcome to the Phil Shy podcast. I'm Peter Bell, and with me, the nicest man in comedy, Paddy Linton.
Hello.
So, lots of games happened this weekend, lots of goals were scored. It was pretty crazy. So we're going to start with one of the bigger matches of the weekend, one of the most insane matches actually. Man United versus Nottingham Forest. Absolutely crazy start to the game. Nottingham Forest went 2-0 up at Old Trafford. I can't recall the last time I saw a team do that there.
I know. And Man U looked so shaky, and it's all the things that we've been talking about in the weeks leading up to this game where they look vulnerable. And I think if a stronger team than Forest does that to them, they're going to hold out and they're going to take the points off them.
Aye. Well, that's what I was saying last week when we were talking about the Man City Newcastle game. I was like, if Man U had played City right now, they would have got a pumping. And this game's further proof of that. The defence was all over the place, especially for the first goal. Obviously, it comes from a United corner, but the back three they had to stop the counter attack was Marcus Rashford, who can't defend, Anthony, who doesn't want to defend, and Christian Eriksen, who is an older gentleman who has recently suffered cardiac arrest on the football pitch. So, what were they expecting to happen?
Cardiac arrest and tragic hair loss.
Well, that's what I was. Aye. The rumours are that he's going to Turkey. No, as a transfer just to get his fucking hair sorted. I suppose you could just wear a yarmulke, but that might fly off mid-game. But I would. How do you pronounce that? The guy that scored for them, Awayeni. Something like that, the Forest striker. I was persuading him last season because most of the goals he scored was just fumbling it over the line after an absolute scramble. But he showed brilliant pace to he ran away from Rashford, who's not a slow player at all.
Not at all.
Left him for dead, and although I was slightly justified by his finish because he hit it almost straight at the keeper, and the keeper
it was a scuff.
Managed not to save it somehow. Which is, I'm not disrespecting Onana because I think he is a decent goalie, but you would want your goalie to be saving that.
If I was a Man United fan, I'd be asking the question, why was Rashford on the halfway line?
Aye.
He's a winger / striker. What's he doing is the last man?
Yeah, he should be either in the box or on the edge of the box because he's got a decent long range strike. And Eriksen should be taking the fucking corner. He's the best set piece taker they've got. No, it was very surprising to me. Usually, in 90% of football, the line you have to protect yourself from a counter-attack at a corner are your full-backs.
Yep.
And maybe one of your wingers, because they're not going to be that useful if the ball comes in and high. Maybe. Possibly a defensive midfielder, although I doubt Casemiro would have been able to keep up with him either. But it just seemed like a really mad decision from Erik ten Hag, especially because before the game, he said one of the threats that Nottingham Forest are going to pose is going to be on the counter-attack. Yep. They're very good at that. And it's like, well, if you know that's the plan from their side, why haven't you come up with a counter plan? You're in charge of one of the biggest clubs in the world.
No, it was a weird start to the game. When they went 2-0 up, you're like, is this happening? But then, lo and behold, at the end of the game, Man U get a dodgy penalty. I don't even know if VAR looked at it. But see if it had been the other way, where he hadn't given the penalty, I don't think VAR would give that penalty because there wasn't enough contact and it wasn't a decisive one.
I think it was one of those ones where whatever way the ref gives it, it's not going to get overruled.
You can't overturn that.
But I think that's just refs protecting other refs, which has also come out as a thing that definitely happens when Mike Dean admitted he'd done that in a football match.
Really?
In a Chelsea game, yeah. He came out and said that he didn't tell the ref on the pitch to go and look at the screen because he'd already had a tough game and he just wanted to protect his mate. And it's like, you're not going to win people round to VAR if you're going on TV and saying that, because it's so easy to not go on TV and say that.
Aye. But that's the thing, we brought in VAR because it would take away the human error, but there's still humans working VAR.
Aye.
That have got emotions. You'll be like, oh, I don't want to put this guy through this.
Aye, it's not even just, it's not human error in that case, it's a conscious decision not to do it. That is a problem. We can try and take out all the emotion and bias and influence in the game, but like you say, they're still people. They're still going to do things that people do. Right, what else did I want to say about that? So I get, again, defend the defence, man, because their second goal as well Bolly's header was completely untested.
Didn't even jump.
Didn't jump. When the ball came in, Wan-Bissaka was facing the wrong way. It's like, who's organising this? Last season, we said this before on the previous podcast, they had the best defence in the league, I think, because they got more clean sheets than anyone else, put it that way. I don't know if they conceded the fewest goals, but they had the most clean sheets. I think because of the Liverpool and City games, they might have conceded more goals than Newcastle. Because Liverpool did them 6 or 6 or 7, and
7, I think it was.
City gave them an absolute thumping as well. But so in order to fix this, Eric Ten Hag is bringing in a new defender.
No, Cucurella.
Mark Cucurella.
There's just like, he's like David Luiz, but
with a wasting disease. If David Luiz took up smack, like, honestly, like, Cucurella was brilliant for Brighton. There's no denying that. And I'm not going to say there's clearly a top player there, because he only had like one season, I think, at Brighton before Chelsea came in and bought him.
Yep.
So he could have just had a really, really good season, and what he's been at Chelsea is his actual level.
Aye.
So who have Chelsea got? Who have United got left back now? Anyway, it's Luke Shaw, who they're playing at centre back half the time. And is it Diogo Dalot, or is he more of is he a right back?
I think he's a right back. He's played left back as well.
Right. So I can see why they would bring in a bit more cover in the full back positions, but is he the right guy? I don't think so, man. Like, especially when you bear in mind Jeremy Frimpong's still at Leverkusen, isn't he?
Aye, but like, I think all the top clubs are going to be scrambling. I think on deadline day he might move to like Real or something.
Aye, because there's talks about big money. No, Ancelotti said that. Well, in fact, why am I trusting anything Real Madrid say? Ancelotti said that Real Madrid's business is done, but we've heard that before. So, I mean, gone are the days where they had that window where they would bring in Ronaldo, Kaká, and Benzema all at the one time. Like, which that was still an insane window, and they still managed not to win the league because of Pep's Barcelona. Right, what else? Another terrible header from a United player this week. You see the Casemiro chance?
Oh, aye.
2 foot out from an open goal, and he managed to head it wide. That was genuinely maybe worse than Fernandes last week.
No, I wouldn't go that far. That's gone far.
But you would imagine at least Casemiro would be a bit more used to heading the ball. Is that as a defensive midfielder? But yeah, to be fair to them, Rashford had a really good game, and
Fernandes had a great game as well. Like, no, in terms of like how he played, but just how he led the team.
Aye.
Like, he's a proper leader.
And the majority of their goals were really good goals. The first one, brilliant run from Rashford, put the ball into the right area, and Eriksen gets a tap in. But the second one, with that sort of weird free kick thing they did, the ball from Rashford at Fernandes was incredible. The cushioned header from Fernandes, he managed to get that one right, so well done you. And then it was an easy finish for Casemiro. And this brought me on to something that I've heard people talk about, because Graham Souness, when Casemiro came into United, said he wasn't a great player. He was a steady Eddie that had been surrounded by great players. And I think that's just fucking mental.
I would completely disagree with that.
The guy's got, 5 Champions League titles?
Aye.
And also, you don't get to stay in a team like that if you're not great. The guy's arguably the best defensive midfielder of his generation. People might say N'Golo Kante, but Kante didn't have he's not done it for anywhere near the length of time that Casemiro's done. Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, Souness is a bit mental. But, I mean, he is against kicking cats, so we do need to give him that. Give credit where credit's due. So, yeah, Rashford was brilliant. They managed to come back and win, and the most important thing is, if you don't play well, at least get the result.
Win.
And they found a way to do it. Protest after the game about the Glazers, but that's going to happen until they sell it. And the thing is, I doubt they'll protest if they're bought over by a Qatari team.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, who do you want to own your club? Do you know what I mean? Like, because when it gets to that level of wealth, there's always going to be like some great crime behind it.
Aye. I think they want Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because he's one of the richest guys in Britain, and like he was born local to Manchester and is a fan like forever, and I think that's who they'd ideally want. But if the Qataris come in and buy them, they're not going to be sitting there going, oh,
Nah, as
That's
long as
dreadful,
we're winning things,
you know.
who gives a fuck?
Aye, they'll shut up about Man City and Newcastle then, I tell you that much for free. Right, what other games? Oh, I don't want to talk about this, but I'm going to have to. So Arsenal 2, Fulham 2. Started very, very badly.
Yeah, 57 seconds.
I mean, it was an embarrassing goal to give away. That I think he's maybe inherited a bit too much from Pep, and he's tinkering when he doesn't need to now. So he made a lot of changes to how they were going to set out and play.
They didn't play with an out-and-out striker either.
No, but Nketiah, or did they bring him on?
Nketiah didn't start.
Aye, they brought him on.
Saka and Martinelli up front.
They had Partey at right back, and Kivior, I think, played left back. Neither of those are.
So is Zinchenko no fit?
He came on later on in the game. I think he is still working back from injury, so it was probably just a don't throw him in straight away kind of thing.
And is Tierney unfit?
Tierney's away. Tierney's
gone?
Yeah, he's on loan at Sociedad.
Did he go? I missed that completely.
Yeah. They've announced him now, so he's away at Sociedad. So I think it's a bold decision because they don't have a backup left back. Because I think they're getting rid of Tavares. My imagination leads me. Well, not my imagination. My imagining would be that they're going to bring in someone to cover for it, unless they have someone come through the youth academy. But apparently Chelsea have been sniffing around Emile Smith-Rowe and stuff like that as well. So maybe they're hoping to generate a bit of money. But if I was Arsenal, I wouldn't sell Emile Smith-Rowe. The local boy, he's a good footballer. Why would you get rid of him right now? There's just no need for it.
To go back to the goal, like Saka's just played it in an area where you'd expect a centre back to be, and then like Saka will get the jip for it because it was him that played the ball back. But Ramsdale didn't cover his own glory. He was running back towards his goal with his body facing this way. Like opening up this side of the goal, it made it an easy finish. If he just like stopped, try to make himself big, like ask the player to lob you. I know, but he wasn't expecting that to happen in Ramsdale's defence. He because Arsenal are usually better at football than that. But yeah, no, it was a really bad start. And aside from that, though, Arsenal completely controlled the football match. The stats in the end were so heavily in favour of them. They created a lot of chances, and if it wasn't for Bernd Leno, unfortunately former Arsenal player, I mean they probably would have won that more comfortably. It was a disappointing result, especially when the opposition goes down to 10 men and you get 2-1 up.
You shouldn't be conceding from a corner kick, especially because you've got the man advantage. There's no way they should be getting a free man in the box to score a goal like that. The
red card for Bassey, he get booked for time wasting in the 50th minute.
Aye.
Like, who's time wasting in the 50th minute? Do you know what I mean? Like,
is
that where we're going?
People are 1-0 up against a team that they're expecting to lose to.
He's getting booked for time wasting for taking a goal kick. Why is he even taking the goal kick? Like, let the keeper...
To waste time?
No, but let the keeper take a yellow card. Do you know what I mean? Because the chances are the keeper's not going to get a second yellow.
Yeah.
And then his second yellow was daft. It's on the halfway line. He's got somebody behind him and he just body checks. I can't remember who it was.
Aye. I mean, there was no arguing about it. That was... Both yellows were like dead cert yellows. There was also a bit of controversy in the game though, because I think the goal that Arsenal took the lead with, Bassey was down in the ground. And Fulham were complaining about that, saying, the game should have been stopped. But it wasn't a head injury. There's no obligation to stop it. If it wouldn't have happened. And if Fulham all of a sudden got the ball and were on the counter-attack, there's no way they're putting the ball out of play. They're just going to go for a goal. So it's complete bollocks. And also, he got up as soon as the goal had been scored to complain about the fact that the game hadn't been stopped.
And then get himself sent off 3 minutes later.
Exactly. He wasn't injured at all. Fabio Vieira, one of the first times that we saw like him get a proper run out in the Premier League, and he was very, very good. He reminded me a lot of like early Ozil at Arsenal, in that he was having shots himself. He forced a couple of saves from Leno.
He won the penalty as well.
Won the penalty, yeah. Some brilliant footwork, and also just created so many opportunities for other people. And he just looked really, really good. And when he first came into Arsenal, people were constantly talking about how this guy has the most potential of anyone they'd signed in a while. They were like, he's just an incredibly talented footballer, but he never really got the time. I think there was a lot of worries that he wasn't built enough for the Premier League. He was just too spindly and too wee. It's like, well, have you seen David Silva? Like, he wasn't exactly a tank, you know. But no, he played very well, and hopefully he gets more game time. Might be one to watch.
I think like the striker's the big thing there. If Jesus isn't going to be fit, like you've got to ask the question: is Nketiah going to be good enough to start games?
Something that's plagued my mind for 2 seasons, man. Like, people love Nketiah, and I get why. Because he's Arsenal born and bred. He scored quite a few important goals last season when Jesus was injured. But I just don't think he's good enough. I think it's a very strange decision to sell Florin Balogun. Obviously, we get more money for him than we would if we sold Nketiah, but the dude was tearing it up in the French league last year, and he's been on loan a lot, and maybe he wanted to go, but Saliba was on loan for like 3 seasons, came back to the league, and now he's one of the best defenders in it. Yeah. Why couldn't we try that with Balogun? If he's tearing it up in other leagues, give him a shot here. At least let him have a go, because Jesus is injured. I don't know how long he's injured for, but he's also going to get injured again because he's just always injured. So if you say to him, mate, you're going to probably play at least half the games this season because Jesus is going to be injured, would that not be enough for him?
Fair enough.
You know, I don't know. It seems a strange decision. I'm not sure about Nketiah. He looks like he's improved though. He looks like he's got better. Do you think he's good enough?
Like, just give him game time. Like, he always seems to be coming off the bench with like half an hour to go, and like if he comes off the bench and scores, like start him the week after. Because then I think the real question is like, who do you start out of like Saka, Trossard, and Martinelli? I would say Saka and Martinelli. And then bring Trossard off the bench. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's when Arsenal were at their best last season, when Saka and Martinelli started out wide and Trossard came off the bench, because anytime he did, he would usually have a goal contribution in him, because he's very good at picking apart defences that are tiring. I wouldn't want him to start. He's not a starting player. I mean, obviously Martinelli was cheap and Saka's an academy product, so it's not about how much you spend on anyone, but those two are two of the best young players around right now. You give them as much game time as you can. And obviously they need to rest Saka every now and then, because he played every game of the last 2 seasons.
And the Euros. World Cups.
It's just, it's insane how much work that boy's gone through. In fact, I saw something really nice. It was I think it was Goal on Facebook page, went around interviewing Arsenal fans, saying, would you sell Saka if it guaranteed you won the league this year? And they all went no.
Fair play.
They all said, we'll trust the process.
What would your answer to that question be?
I don't want to get rid of him, man.
I'm just sure you're going to be like, give me the league.
No, it'd be like, ask me to get rid of like one of my non-existent kids, you know. Like, he's just such a lovely wee guy, man.
Aye.
Also, if you really like believe in what they're doing, the good young team and all that kind of stuff, one-off league title would be lovely, but sustained success at a football club relies on having young, talented footballers that actually give a shit.
Yeah.
And there is no one that typifies that more than Bukayo Saka at Arsenal. So, yeah. No, I'm not sure about Nketiah is the long and the short of it. But he'll do his backup just now. I think next season I'd want to bring in another striker though, because like Jesus is just unreliable with his injuries. We've been sitting talking about Arsenal all this time. We haven't even really mentioned Fulham, because Paulinho once again was out of this world.
Aye.
And some of the Fulham fans that I've seen talking about this were like, I wish he was injured for another couple of weeks till the transfer window was shut. Because everyone, see, if he hadn't scored, it probably wouldn't have got as much attention. But now everyone's like, oh, aye, he's fucking brilliant. Should we buy him?
Yeah, he's a class player.
Aye, especially after transitioning, as you said last week.
From Paulinho to Paulinho.
yeah. That I just agreed with. But no, I really rate him. I think if he was younger, he'd get snapped up quickly. But because he's already 30, I think that might slow people down from going for him. Right. What game should we talk about next?
Newcastle Liverpool, isn't it?
It is Newcastle Liverpool.
Fucking gutted. It's like everything's gone perfectly, man.
You were so good in that game.
I know, like everything's gone perfectly. Like, you start the game, you score fucking early. Like, Trent should have been sent off.
I agree with that 100%.
Before the goal.
Aye.
Like, so it would have been a second yellow, like any longer into the game because he'd been booked so
Aye.
early. That's a second yellow, and then you score the goal for the mistake, and then Van Dijk gets sent off, which there was like a lot of debate on Match of the Day. There was a lot of debate about it, and I'm like, it was a clear it's a goal scoring opportunity.
Aye.
He goes for the ball, he misses the ball, he takes the guy out, like it's a red card.
It's a red card.
And like, even if it wasn't, VAR would have overturned it. Like, there was no argument there was any players getting in behind, or the ball was going out to play. Like, it's a defo.
It was a clear red card. You can't argue with it. The thing is, if it was in the box, then it would have been, you can't get double jeopardy, as they call it, so it'd be a yellow and a penalty.
I know, it's mad, isn't it?
But because it's outside the box, it's a red card.
It's a goal
because the footballing rules are making less and less sense every fucking day. But
I know.
No, I agree. Trent should have been sent off. The only argument against that could have been that was he fouled by Gordon in the first place?
Maybe.
When he got the yellow for throwing the ball away. If that was given as a free kick, he wouldn't have done that. So that could be the only thing. But I mean, it was as clear it was a cynical tactical foul. He clearly should have been sent off. But Newcastle created so many chances, completely dominated the football match. In fact, I think I've got some of the stats here. It's 60% possession and 23 shots. That's
I think their XG was like 2.5 as well.
Aye, yeah, that's a complete domination. Obviously, they were against 10 men for most of it, but that's completely controlling the football game. And even before that, they were still the better side. Even before they went down to 10.
The big chance was when Almiron hit the post.
Yeah,
he went in that run, cuts inside, hits the post. If that goes 2-0,
aye,
game's probably buried.
Or when Harvey Barnes went through and decided rather than
pass it to Wilson.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
I was screaming.
Aye, as was Wilson. Did you see him have an absolute fit about that? He was not happy at all.
I was doing a gig at the Fringe and I was watching it on my phone, and so was Dan McKenna, who's a
Liverpool
Scouse,
fan.
And I was giving him shit the whole time, and then I went in to do the gig, so I never got to see the last 10 minutes. I had to watch it again. And when I came back out, he was just like, hey! And fucking Nunez had come off the bench and scored.
Juan de Caro.
Like Juan de Caro strikes back.
Yeah,
he took his goals really well, to be fair, both.
He did. They were brilliant finishes, and that's exactly the kind of goal he scored all the time for Benfica. It's what got him signed for Liverpool, was doing stuff like that consistently for Benfica. So, but we've said this countless times already in the podcast. Liverpool have no problems going forward. Their issues are with their defence, and it got shown again today. But we spent part of last week, having a go at Alisson.
Oh, mate, save of the season contender straight away. In fact, I think there was this weekend, there was 4 or 5 outrageous saves.
Oh, 100%.
His for the volley was Almiron.
Aye.
Caught it sweet for 12 yards out into the top corner.
Aye.
He gets 2 hands on it, hits the bar, hits the post, and he just paws it away as well.
Aye, he played an absolute blinder for them, and apparently it was the most saves he's ever made in a Premier League football match.
I can believe that.
Aye, which just shows how well Newcastle played. But I mean, it's been really unlucky for them. Their first 3 games of the season have been Aston Villa, Man City and Liverpool. None of those are easy football matches.
I know, and I think after the first game when they smashed Villa, I was like, here we go. And even getting narrowly beat by City away, it's not a terrible result. No, but I think if you're going to make the top 4, or if you're going to make something happen, you have to put to bed games where you're 1-0 up, and the other team are down to 10, and you're making loads of chances.
I think part of the problem is when other teams can bring off quality from the bench, and this is no disrespect to him, but you're bringing on Longstaff. He's decent, but there's a gap in there.
Aye.
And don't get me wrong, I think Newcastle were a better team than they were last season. I think they're going to play better football than they did last season, and hopefully have a decent run in the Champions League as well. But I think the lack of depth with the more games that they're playing in is what's gonna maybe hold them back from getting into the top 4. Also, just if other teams improve. But it's a very, very long season, and they've got 3 of the hardest games out the way already.
Yeah, so fair enough. It
is going to make it easier going forward. Right, have we got anything else that we wanted to say about Newcastle or Liverpool? Not mentioned Juan de Caro. Right, okay, what's next? West Ham, is that? Was it good?
Yeah, Brighton, West Ham.
Wow, didn't see that result coming.
Yep.
Did not see that result coming. And to be fair to them, it was quite similar to the Chelsea game where the other team dominated possession, created all the chances, and then West Ham were just like, we can defend like bastards. So we'll just hit you in the counter-attack. And James Ward-Prowse scored his first goal for West Ham.
And he looked fantastic as well.
But it wasn't a free kick, it was a tap-in.
I know, aye.
So, no, he's looking... It's amazing what's happening. It's not shocking at all, but if it turns out, if you put in a decent player with other players that are also decent, they can play better football. You know? Like when Maddison moved to Spurs and when Ward-Prowse has moved to West Ham. It's like, oh, he's actually a lot better than everybody thought he was. I've always kind of liked James Ward-Prowse, but I think he got man of the match in that game or the game before, and he's making a big difference to them. But I'm going to have to get to this point again.
Antonio, after you slagged him,
yeah.
He's just banging them in every week.
I mean, I am very much the Jack Grealish to his Almiron.
Just give him a slag.
I said he was incredibly inconsistent. He needs to be scoring more goals, and look what he's doing. He's 2 in a row. He's got goals in there. So you're welcome, West Ham fans.
Bowen took his goal well as well.
Oh, Bowen's a brilliant player. Genuinely, like the issue with him is like he'll play really, really well in the Premier League, and everyone go, "Oh, he should be playing for England." It's like, no, he shouldn't. Not in the first team. No, he shouldn't.
You've got like Foden,
Grealish, Saka, Raheem Sterling. Yes, I'm sorry, mate, but he's a brilliant. Anytime you put him out, you're going to get 7, 8 out of 10. He's just going to put in the shift. He can score goals. What he is a fantasy footballer. He'll get you hundreds of points, but he's not like Champions League level. He's found a team where it works really well for him, and he just plays very, very well in that team. So, mad credit to him, because he came from Hull to there, and when Hull were in the Championship as well, so he had to make that step up to the Premier League, and he's not looked out of place once.
No, he's looked great. Another 2 save of the season contenders, and both of them were for Areola.
Oh, what a performance by him, man!
Like the one he tipped onto the bar was incredible.
He genuinely had an incredible game, and I can see why. Like Fabianski was their number 1 for years. Yeah, he's not getting a look in with this guy.
He did fine for years.
Aye,
did Areola play for Real at one point as well?
PSG.
Was it PSG?
PSG, aye. I think that's actually where they got him from, because they had both Keylor Navas and Gianluigi Donnarumma. So, I mean, you're not getting in that team, mate. But, no, he's a brilliant goalie. In fact, with Fabianski as a backup, there's not many better duos that you're going to get, you know. Aye, exactly. So, no, he looked brilliant in that game, and David Moyes, people were wanting him out last season. If they hadn't won the Conference League, he'd have probably been booted.
Yeah.
And now look at them. Like, they've reinvested that money very, very smartly. I think they signed Mohamed Kudus from Ajax this week after he scored 2 goals in the Europa League qualifiers. The new signings that they've already bedded in look very good. The way they're playing football, it's kind of like, obviously at a much lower level, that Real Madrid team that won a few Champions Leagues in a row just by sitting back, defending well, and then striking on the counter. They look like they're happy to soak up the pressure, and then just...
Antonio's goal was like that as well, where like I think it was for a goal kick, and it was just like 3 touches and he was in behind and he finished it.
But it shows what having a sort of midfield guy like James Ward-Prowse can do.
Yeah.
Because he can either dribble with it a bit, or he can just play a perfect pass through, and these guys are just off. And Bowen's got enough pace and quality to do that. I think they look good. I think they look good.
With their back four look decent. Areola's amazing.
Yeah.
In what way is the West Ham defence like a 70s boob? Areola's a big part of it. Been saying that.
So our producer this week, Paul, he wasn't here for last week's one where Paddy was making jokes like this. This is going to be a new experience for him. Jesus Christ! I actually do quite like that joke.
It's quite good,
but
I wrote it in a taxi.
I can't give you credit for it. Not on screen. Right, Spurs once again looking pretty decent.
We need to talk before we talk about Spurs. We need to talk about Robbie Williams singing the tune. Have you not heard they've took the song Angels
and
turned into the Big Ange tune?
Right, okay. So Robbie Williams didn't actually sing the tune.
No, he did.
What?
It was on BBC Sport the day. Like, it was Robbie Williams singing it in like his trailer.
I'm loving Big Ange instead. Yeah,
he sang the whole thing with a guitarist and everything.
I didn't realise Robbie.
Because Robbie Williams does to do everything he can to stay relevant. So like, he jumped on that. Like,
why stay relevant? Why not just retire with millions and millions of pounds?
Because you can make more and more millions of pounds by just turning up and banging out Angels, just letting the audience sing it for you. He saw that and he'd recorded it just for the BBC. I don't know if it was just for the BBC or maybe for his YouTube channel. BBC like put it back up, but he took the Big Ange tune, which is another great chant. Like, English fans, like, they're quite good for being creative with all chants.
Yeah. No, 100%. I've heard the chant, and we'll get a link to the fans singing it and put it somewhere like on our Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or something like that. But it's a really good chant.
Fantastic.
And also, if you manage to get Ange Postecoglou into a chant, you just deserve credit anyway, man. It's not the easiest name to fit in. But more respect for what he's done for that midfield, because not only have Bissouma and Maddison been great so far this season, but that Sarr
looked great.
He's been magic. And again, said it the past 2 weeks, defensively and attackingly, there are still obvious weaknesses there, but they've got a core midfield now that he doesn't really need to do much more work with that. That'll perform at that level seemingly every week. So he needs to work on getting Richarlison to score a goal, because he passed up a golden opportunity in that game.
Can he sort his feet out?
Yeah. I mean, I just imagine if that was Kane, that's going in like... He wouldn't need to take as many touches, you know. It's... But he did, again, one of the things I noticed straight away in this match, and we didn't talk about so much last week, is the difference in their pressing. Like, they're on people straight away. And I get, is that something you would associate with Conte and Mourinho previously? But they sort of half-arsed it when they were doing it with them, because they weren't happy with the circumstance, the situation.
And even when they did win the ball back, they'd play it square or play a safe pass.
I think Maddison played a completely different role in this game. Half the time he went really deep, played from much further back, and just so they could overload Bournemouth in those positions. And he's looking like a hell of a footballer. Like, he was doing stuff on that and on the pitch there that I didn't think he was capable of doing.
Like fucking making tackles, playing 1-2s, like getting him behind, like creating hundreds of space for everybody. The
way they were so reliant on him, and the way he would kind of pass and move and create things. Obviously, again, very different level, but it was like David Silva was the comparison that came to my head, where when David Silva first came to City, because he was the first player of like that quality, that, I mean, Rubinho aside, but that just tits up, of that quality that they'd had, everything just went like through David Silva. Everything that was like the clear message from the manager was, get the ball to David, he'll cause something to happen. That seems to be what's happening with Tottenham with James Maddison.
And then, you're talking about like losing Kane, you're losing 30 goals, but Maddison scored, Kulusevski came off the bench and scored. Like, Son's yet to score this season, but like once he starts scoring, and if Richarlison can score a few as well, it doesn't matter that you've not got a striker. And I think Ange said it in his post match as well. He's like, I like that about my teams, that you don't know where the goal's coming from. So it makes it harder to play against, because you don't have one person to go like, he's the threat, let's fucking make sure we lock him down. There's so many players that can pop up and score goals.
That has always been a thing with his team, and Tottenham will need it this season because they don't have a striker, but they might not miss one if they can do that. I still think, obviously, long term, you want to bring in someone that can get you goals and at least link up the play a bit better than Richarlison, but for now, they've got to be happy with the way things are going. Although last season they started off winning 7 games in a row, and then it all went to shit.
Aye.
So it is very early in the season. I can't judge anything by now. One of the things that Match of Day said is that Bournemouth have spent £109 million this season. They gave Scott Parker about 50p to try and spend, and he left because they wouldn't put any money into the club. So I reckon he's pretty pissed off at the moment. Now we come on to the game of the weekend. The one we both predicted would be shite, and it didn't let us down. Everton Wolves, indeed. Once again, Everton create a decent amount of chances and just don't score any of them. At least they learned a lesson and didn't play Maupay, but that's not really helped them out, has it?
I think they scored, but it was ruled offside. The Curry scored. It was a marginal offside. And then Wolves scored, and it was offside, but that changed the game because Wolves get their tails up, so to speak. I didn't mean that. I did not mean that.
I don't believe you. I
didn't mean that genuinely.
No, you're right. I actually think it was the Everton goal that got ruled out that seemed to make Wolves go, hold on, we need to do something. And Fabio Silva actually looked half decent, which really troubled me for a brief period. I mean, he wasn't the one that scored the goal in the end, but
he passed up a big chance before he scored.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
I felt like the atmosphere in Goodison turned sour pretty quickly. They should rename it the Baddison. I meant that, man. But
did you mean that one?
The atmosphere looked like it turned pretty. As soon as they started to struggle, which is what you don't want, because that gives the away team encouragement. And then there was another 2 contenders for save of the season. Pickford made absolutely superb, and then Sam made a fucking great save where he was wrong-footed, moving backwards, and he still managed to
flick over the bar. Yeah, that was an incredible.
That was probably the best save of the weekend.
I agree, because he's fallen backwards, he's going down, and he's managed to generate the power to get it over the bar.
Incredible.
It's so difficult to do. He made a lot of good saves in that game. Everton could have been several goals up, but whilst you can credit the goalie, you've got to say the finishing's awful. It's awful.
And then even the goal that did go in, went off the guy's fucking back.
It was the most Wolves Everton goal that could have been scored. But I guarantee Jamie doesn't give a shit. He's that's 3 points on the board. Gary O'Neill's happy. Everyone's having a lovely time. We'll talk about a couple more games and then we'll preview the big one this weekend.
Yeah.
Right, okay. What have we got? What other games are important? I didn't even say that. I've written that down. The goal that obviously you just talked about the goal that went in.
Off the guy's back.
Was off the cud's back. Wasn't even a header. This is genuinely the notes I read when I watched it. Helen Keller could have put in a better finishing display, and she can't see or hear someone shout "man on." This is the part that gets us cancelled. Right. Who were Brentford playing again? Crystal Palace, yes.
Fucking Big Boy.
But Big Boy, he's back in town. The boy's back. I didn't even read that. So what a goal from Kevin Shaddy.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, Joe Ward looks very out of place in the Premier League.
How long's he been there?
I know. I remember FIFA years and years and years ago. Back when Mooney Ayin was 18 years old and Joe Ward was at Crystal Palace, you're like, how are you still playing, man? How are you still playing? It's mad. I actually think Roy was in the same class at him at school. He shouldn't be he shouldn't be playing for them anymore. They need to bring in a new fullback for me, because if he's playing all season,
he's gotta get done.
Aye. So, do you think Roy will swoop for one?
Fuck off, man.
See, I'm giving him a taste of his own medicine now. Paul, you didn't hear this last week, but we were talking about how Roy Hodgson is an owl. So,
aye, yes, I know. Aye, because that's what I've wrote in my notes here. I've who do you think would win in a fight? A swarm of bees or an owl? Answer's a draw.
Why are you so about Brentford? Aye, fuck me, Peter, man.
It's just that he's an owl.
He is an owl.
I'm telling you.
No, I'm not. I'm drawing the line. I'm drawing the line now. Right, Chelsea Luton. See what you've done. We have to talk about Chelsea Luton now. Pretty run the mill for Chelsea, I'd say this one.
But I don't know. It's like easy to say running the mill, winning 3-0 at home, but like they still look great. One thing I will
against
say,
a championship team.
One thing I will say that I don't even mention yet, the new Chelsea home kit is a fucking belter.
Yeah,
it's like the old night kits for like, I don't know, like 2002 World Cup era. Remember, like South Korea, Brazil, they all had the same design. I like. I'd noticed that a couple of weeks ago and I forgot to mention it on here, but I think it's the smartest kit.
It's because it doesn't have a sponsor on it, that kind of helps.
It makes it look even better.
But as a Celtic/Arsenal fan, I can't be seen to give any kind of Chelsea kit a compliment.
It's a different shade of blue.
I was wanting you to keep talking there while I had a drink.
Oh, right, sorry, I fucked you there, I was an ambitious sip there.
Yeah, you say they played well, but again, I'm sorry, Luton fans, you're a championship team.
Yeah.
You're a championship team with championship players. Also, Chelsea fans had some vintage overreaction from them at the weekend, as one of them took to the internet, a Facebook, just general Facebook football page, to pronounce that Enzo Fernandez is the best player in the Premier League.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How many starts has he had in the Premier League?
He's not even the best player at Chelsea. Like, over the top reaction to a guy who didn't score any of the goals and didn't play particularly well.
Sterling looked great though.
Sterling, yeah. But he's kind of, maybe it's just taken a season, like in the same way it took Jack Grealish a season to adjust to City. It's taken him a season to adjust to Chelsea, because he looked brilliant last week against West Ham despite them losing that game. And this week he scored 2 goals, looked sharp, looked like the leader in that team.
Yep.
And whilst James is injured, he should be wearing the armband.
Yeah.
He's an experienced guy. He was absolutely brilliant at the weekend, brilliant the weekend before. And if anyone can drag the rest of those players along, or get all those wee tricky wingers they've got, all the young strikers, the young attackers, if anyone's going to teach them what they need to do, not only to succeed at a young age, because Sterling was brilliant from very, very young, but also how to win things and progress and handle pressure, because the press have been abusing him for years, man. He gets dog shit off them all the time. And he just gets his heat down and does his job. So I'm a big Raheem Sterling fan, despite he plays for like City or Chelsea or Liverpool, all teams that I shouldn't like, but there's something about him, man. I think he's a brilliant footballer, and I like him as a lad as well. What else? Oh, this is going to be relevant to almost nobody who watches this, but Luton's manager looks like comedian Stuart Goldsmith. I just wanted to get that out there. It's not punditry, but just it's information. Holland missed a penalty.
Yeah. Smacked half a post.
Aye. I mean, see, when he ran up to it at that speed, I was like, what you doing, man? Like, it's no moving.
I think that's just the speed he runs at. I don't think he's got like different gears. He just goes.
I know, but for a penalty, there's no need for that, because he was sprinting from like 5 feet away. I was like, it's all right, calm down. Not that I called.
No, I know that you should be giving advice to Erling Haaland.
Imagine me in the side, like, all right, calm down.
I know. This is what you do. Right? You take your foot, you wrap it around the ball.
And then he missed another chance, and then they were stupid enough to give him a third crack at it, and he scored a goal. So City had 30 shots in that game.
They're incredible, man. Like even conceding in the 85th minute, you knew they were going to score.
Aye.
Like there was no sweat, and even they didn't panic. They didn't start like changing the way they played.
Rodri's goal though,
some finish for Rodri.
He, now that De Bruyne is injured, has a case for being the best player in the league right now, on form, not on ability. But it's tail end of last season, start of this season, he's barely put a foot wrong, and he scored it. Didn't he score the winner in the Champions League final as well? I mean, he's the best defensive midfielder on the planet for me at the moment. Like, I can't think of anyone better than him.
I'd find it
he's the closest I've seen to Busquets since Busquets. I'm not saying he's as good as Busquets, because that's just a stupid thing to try and claim, but he was brilliant again. They could have ran away with that match if they'd just taken their chances, but they didn't. That was the arguably weirder than seeing Haaland miss a penalty. Ederson misplaced a pass in that football match. I don't know what's real anymore, guys. Genuinely, like,
I'd like to see us pass statistics. I bet they're fucking incredible, better than anybody in the league.
Aye, obviously we mentioned like Scott Brown's in the Champions League because he just passed it backwards and sideways. Like, he's hitting 60-yard through balls and he's never got one. Aye. He's just marvellous passer about, and to see him give one away was just mad. Quick run through of Villa Burnley and then we'll move on. I know this is a painful thing for you because you hate Burnley, but we'll just get, they lost anyway. So.
It's not I hate Burnley, I just find them boring. Like, I just don't.
Paddy,
something about them.
We have released a reel of you explaining why you hate Burnley, so it's a bit too late.
I fucking hate Burnley.
But it's been a rough start for them. So obviously, first two games were City and Villa.
Yeah.
And they're running. You're gonna love this.
Because they had a Luton game, which they could probably get points on the board for. That get postponed, and then after
it was City.
No,
it was City. City was opening, then it was Luton, was it?
It was supposed to be Luton, but it get postponed because Luton Stadium's fucked.
And then Villa at the weekend.
And then who have they got? Newcastle next.
No, Spurs at home, Forest away, and Forest away is difficult. United at home, Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, Brentford away. That's, I think, realistically, being optimistic, 2 points, and that takes them up to the 21st of October.
Oof.
That's
and like, see, when you're one of the teams that's got to start the battle, like that mentality starts in December when you're in the bottom three, and they could be right up against it. And
with their style of football, the way they try and play now under Company, if he's still there, if they only have 2 points by that stage, it's a lot easier to G yourself up for a fight if you're going out in the pitch and actually scrapping and stuff like that. If you're trying to play really nice passing football and you've got completely demoralised by only being on 2 points at the tail end of October, it makes it a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
A lot harder to do. Right, a quick run through. So obviously this weekend we have arguably one of the biggest games in Premier League history, biggest fixtures in Premier League history, because it was
not these days, but
but it was a rivalry that kind of defined the late 90s, early 90s in the Premier League. Arsenal versus Man United. Obviously both teams have fallen from grace quite drastically, but it's still a match that my mate's a Man United fan, and he actually views the Arsenal game as one he wants to win more than the Liverpool one because he grew up in the 90s and that was the rivalry. So it's a big game despite it not meaning what it used to, and we're going to have a wee chat about some of our favourite moments from this game in history. So you start off, what are the standout moments?
Thierry Henry's volley. Well, where he flicked up and then looked at Artetas. If he fucking miles it.
The touch, he's not looking at the goal at all. Flick up, turn volley, and it just the way it swirls in the air. I could watch that go for days, man. That's incredible. In the interest of balance, I'll put forward Giggs' goal against Arsenal in the FA Cup, where he just dribbled through the entire team, scored, and then showed his incredibly hairy chest. I mean, I hated that goal, but it's one of those ones where you're watching someone do that against your team and you just have to go,
that was a surreal. While we're on things that you're going to hate, the 8-2 game. That was mental. I remember that was like one of the maddest games of football
and that was
ever
like
seen.
8 years ago today or something, or 10 years ago today, something like that, because I remember at that time I put on Facebook or Twitter or something like that, if they don't get rid of Arsene now, are we ever going to get rid of him? Because you can't lose it to your biggest rivals. It's just not acceptable. And obviously they kept him for another few years, but move on.
Well, we're on Arsene getting sent to the stand.
Yes. For kicking a water ball. Like, he didn't kick it at anyone, it didn't hit anyone. He's like, go stand up there for some reason.
Aye, because he fucked it and he didn't know how to get it. So he ended up standing above the tunnel with like his arms out.
Like that, like Christ the Redeemer.
A baying crowd behind him.
To be fair, the crowd were decent about it. They could have like... If that's an Old Firm match, that guy's getting stuff thrown at him. Like, he's no leaving there with all his blood in him, basically. But no, they were just sort of had a bit of a laugh with him. But it's one of the most iconic photos from that fixture. Just him standing there like that. It was frustrating because it was a Robin van Persie goal that got ruled out for offside, and we ended up losing the game. But there was still a part of you left the game going, that's quite funny.
It was funny.
The other big defining one, and people watching this are probably screaming, going, why haven't you mentioned that yet? Was the Ruud van Nistelrooy penalty, where he doesn't score and Martin Keown basically
clotheslines him for the back.
Tries to jump on his back, just goes mental at him.
No, mate, there's another big one we've missed. Keane Vieira in the tunnel.
Oh yes, because apparently Vieira was apparently bullying Gary Neville. To be fair, he's quite bullyable.
But Keane,
Keane proper went for him. Like, we'll see what's happening. That too. Obviously, we're talking about the teams being rivalry, but their rivalry in particular was just so much fun to watch. Good, man. Yeah. And I still maintain Vieira is the better footballer, but Keane is the better captain.
Which player would you want in your team?
Oh, Patrick Vieira. I'm an Arsenal fan. I can't. Me and my mates used to pick a 4-4-2 all-time Premier League team, and my midfield is Vieira and Scholes.
Yeah, I would take Keane. I know he wasn't as good a technical footballer, but he was a great leader.
He was a great
performance
leader.
against Juve and
but
all that.
If I've got Tony Adams at the back, I don't need a great leader in the centre mid.
Before you do the fantasy roundup, I've got a trivia question. Ooh. And this week's trivia question is, who's scored the most amount of own goals in Premier League history? The most amount of goals.
Are we giving multiple choice, or are we just going to let them
No, just fire away.
Guess randomly.
Just guess randomly.
Yeah. I think I know who it is, but I'm not going to say, so feel free to guess. I mean, you probably know. I've got it down to two people. It's one of these two, but I'll ask you after because I've not confirmed that with you. Right. So we'll do a quick run through of the Fantasy Premier League then. Jack Murray still is hiding his team for everyone. So I'm going to stop.
Play to Jack.
I'm still going to stop bringing him up just till he fixes it. I mean, you're 27 points in the lead, Jack. I think you can let other people see what you're doing. You're all right.
That's why you shouldn't let other people know you're. Keep it hidden, Jack.
Don't encourage him. It's just a social podcast.
Fair play to you, Jack.
So second, we've got my pal Jonathan Coleman, who's gone with Brenegade Master is his team name. We chuckle from Paul in the corner. So he's got Holland, Richarlison, João Pedro, Rashford, Fernandes, Maddison, Saka. Pretty good week for them. Chilwell, Anderson from Crystal Palace, he scored. So
a defender that scores goals win your games, man.
Estepinian and is that Sam Johnston? Johnston the goalie? I don't know what team he plays for.
Obviously spunked his budget before he got to the keeper.
He's just like, you know what? Unless
keeper's not even going to start. It's like a third choice keeper.
Unless you lose like 5 goals in a game, it's actually not that damaging to have a shite goalie. So last place, Cavayogo FC. On the what team he supports. George Kavanagh, that is, he's on 118 points. A mere 32 behind the person in 19th. So keep on trucking, mate. You get with his team, Onana, Byrne, Van Dijk, who got him a total of -1 point. Rico Lewis, I don't know how often he's going to play, mate, but you might want to change that up. Luis Diaz, Jacob Murphy, again, probably not going to play at all this season. Hung Sung Min, Salah, Wilson, Holland and Richarlison. So you've got quite a few players in there that are not going to get game time.
Plus, like, Onana's probably one of the more expensive keepers.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
Also, like, I can't hear Onana's name without thinking of that Rihanna tune.
Yeah.
Onana.
What's my name?
I used to sing that to my granny when she got dementia.
Did you? She was a big Rihanna fan. A couple other names that I don't think we mentioned last time. Lloris the Hounds.
Oh, Lloris the Hounds. Oh, that's all right, man. If you've got any good fantasy football names that are in this league, just get them in the comments, because that's one of my favourite things. Inter your ma.
Yeah.
That's
Ian McDonald's got that. Aye.
I think that's great.
The Secret Life of Pep instead of The Secret Life of Pets.
It's a stretch.
Sorry, Chris. He loves this podcast too. You're just tearing them apart. I don't think there's any other like ones that we haven't read out already, because I think we did Rio Hatate scones last week, didn't we?
Rio Hatate scones.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much us, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, in fact, let's do one last prediction for United Arsenal. Let's find out if they're at home or away first. I should know that. Because that'll be significant probably. Arsenal versus Manchester United. It is at the Emirates Stadium. So what's your prediction?
Score draw 1-1.
Well, I think Man U got another defensive injury today, so I'm going to be confident and go 2-1 Arsenal. I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet, but I think it'll be 2-1 Arsenal. And watch this come back to bite me in the arse. Just wrap it up there.
Aye,
So
perfect.
that's all from this week. It's goodbye from Paddy.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Stay fresh, cheese bags.